Trustee Barry?
I literally was planning to sit here, not engage into this at all. I just can't. It's not in me. To my right, to my left, facing me are some amazing people. This responsibility takes us away from our kids, our grandkids, our spouses, our parents, our siblings, our friends. This is not an easy job. This is not an easy responsibility. So what we've had to endure for the last couple weeks has not been easy on me, has not been easy on my colleagues. And the only reason that I decided to say some things is because we as a community have been getting played for a long, long time. For somebody to question the Open Meetings Act, it's obvious who asked about the Open Meetings Act, but that doesn't offend me. I've been questioned before, probably for the last 15 years. But when you take a highly charged, emotional room full of at least a couple hundred people and try to start pointing at them, that part did offend the heck out of me, okay? It didn't surprise me, but it offended me. What did I mean by we let people divide us? I've heard the word shame go back and forth. The only thing I say is shame on people when you let others divide you. We're one community, we're one city, we're one school district. This school district has done some amazing things this past decade. Amazing things. Jumped over a lot of hurdles, obstacles. The challenge we faced in '06, the challenges we're facing this year is not easy on us. It's not easy on our teachers. It's not easy on our volunteers in our schools, administrators. We're going to hire some administrators tonight. I have no idea why anybody would want to take on these challenges right now, but God bless you. God bless you. In my hand here, I hold a book. It says, "For the Good of All." This is the root of a lot of problems in our community that's got us pegged APAC against this, against that. I receive phone calls, people question APAC. I'm like, okay, stop. What does APAC stand for? Matter of fact, just tell me what the last three letters stand for. Political Action Committee. You're accusing a political action committee of being political. Listen to yourself. That's like accusing a sheikh or a priest of being religious. Listen to yourself. I had people call me and tell me because somebody's a certain ethnicity or somebody's, they should, no. Don't demean that person. That person is very more than qualified. Let's talk about the character. Let's talk about the community service that this person has done. Here, I've had this in my hand for a long, long time. And I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to tell you what happened. In 1920, less than 100 years ago, the woman received the right to vote. Less than 100 years ago. 16 years later in this city, you still had to own land in order to vote. This is 1936. This is just the other day. It's a couple years before my dad was born. You still had to own land to be able to vote in this city. There's somebody that jumped in his car earlier today and drove probably a good hour to get to his house, that's sitting back laughing at each one of you, at each one of us here, okay? Let me tell you why. Because in 1936, in order to control a board, whatever the heck that means, to control a board, 400 people bought a lot near Fortson. This is 400 people that worked at the college, bought a lot, and instantly they became voters in the city of Dearborn. So this controlling of a board, it's not political action committees that serve their mission. It's not neighborhood associations that serve a cause, what they believe in the best interest. I heard a statement here today, politics doesn't belong in education. We're elected officials. That's somewhat political. The politics, the real true politics, look at you. You're here tonight. You're here tonight to fill that, to make sure that we fill that seat, the right person in that seat. Who's paying attention for our tax dollars at Henry Ford College? How come nobody attends those meetings? There's some important stuff at that college going on. Probably almost 40% of the students at that college are our own kids from Dearborn Public Schools. Out of our graduates, over 300 students go right to Henry Ford College. Who's paying attention there? We're going to sit here and beat up on each other and have somebody laugh at us? I made the mistake. Well, I don't believe it's a mistake, but I actually opened up my mouth a couple months ago. Said, hey, what's going on? Give us some answers. I was accused of playing games. I actually got some phone calls where borderline threatening. When I ran my campaign, I promised two things. Empower the parents, but hold them accountable. Our teachers are taking a beating in the classroom. Parents should be held accountable, but at the same time, empower them and make our schools, make our buildings welcoming. And the other thing, I promised I was going to pay attention to our taxpayers' money. Are they getting a right return on their investment? I strongly believe so. Let's prove it to them. That's what I wanted to get to. This is the part I wanted to get to. I didn't want to mess around with, excuse me, this is an important process. I don't say mess around. But what's been happening in the last couple of weeks is not good. Please, please, take this passion, what you have here. Get involved. Not just every couple of years something comes up and all of a sudden we get highly motivated and passionate and let's do the right thing, him against him or her against her, her against him. That's not what it's all about. I'd be more than happy to share, to get into deeper into this, what I'm talking about here. 400 people bought a lot. The lot still exists. Nobody's been paying taxes on it since then. At least I couldn't find who the taxpayer is. The name on the records probably is no longer with us. 400 people is the reason. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. Shame on me if I don't. The reason at Henry Ford College we have the most paid full-time faculty, the highest paid full-time faculty. Yeah, I'm feeling some vibes here, but it's okay. I'm going to put it out there. Are we getting the same student success over there as we are there in public schools? Ask those questions. Show up at the next meeting Monday night and ask those questions. Those are your kids. Those are our kids. That's your tax money. This is our tax money. Literally, honestly, I think this is a sad day. It's been a sad week for somebody to tell me this over this one or whatever. This is not an APAC problem. This is not this community, this ethnicity. We have a professional here that's going to guide this board through the process. One question I'm going to ask him is, I know there's a state law, but do we have the opportunity to change this process so we don't have to go through this? When the governor changed the law and said we had to go to even number of years, we were forced to extend we didn't vote. I was on the board, and I believe Trustee President Lane was with me. We didn't vote to extend our terms. We were forced to, because we didn't want something like this to happen. And we talked about this. We talked about that 6 years is a long commitment. So this is probably going to be happening more often than not. I know it's a second time in 30-some years, but it's going to be happening. Maybe we need to talk about, is there another process that can we do this so we don't have to tear into each other like we have been. Again, God bless you for getting involved. These are your babies. These are your parents. These are your kids. These are your children. These are our children. I did not want to speak, but when somebody takes a highly emotional group of people and try to get them going, that bothered the heck out of me. Thank you for the time.
Trustee. Okay, we have one piece of business before Dr. Wilmot will come up, so Trustee Petchikoff.
Approval of minutes. Approval of minutes of the following Dearborn Board of Education meeting. Policy Committee meeting, May 8th, 2017. Executive session, closed evaluation, May 8th, 2017. Regular P12 meeting, May 8th, 2017. and special meeting open board vacancy June 6, 2017. Recommended action, make any necessary corrections, and move approval of these minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, does anyone have any corrections? Did they notice anything in the minutes that were, Dr. Mead, incorrect? Are the minutes all correct, and can I adopt them unanimously?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So, trustee Petchikoff?
Special reports,
We have
none.
none.
So we move into the moment of fun. Action items. Special consideration of an action item. Are there any agenda items on this agenda which board members of the superintendent wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude these from the motion below. Board vacancy, Michigan Leadership Institute, Dr. Michael Wilmot, filling the board vacancy of Office of Trustee, Board of Education.
We will vote on all of these, of course. This will be a
Yes,
roll
this
call
is the
vote.
first one.
Dr. Wilmot,
Evening.
good evening.
Interesting. As you know, this is my first direct involvement with you in this process. We did a similar situation just about a year ago, I think, when Ms. Hamad was appointed to the board.
2 years.
2 years
Dr.
ago. Boy, how
Wilmot.
time
Time
flies.
flies.
Boy, sorry. So here's the bottom line. I come to you from the Michigan Leadership Institute, position that I've held for the last 17 years. Prior to that, served 18 years as a local school district superintendent here in Wayne County. And over that span of time, I've had multiple opportunities to deal with literally hundreds of school district superintendents, hundreds of boards of education across the state. I've had the good fortune of interacting directly with school communities in working with superintendents and their boards. Most recently, here last spring, working on a planning project which many people in this audience participated. And I can tell you without question, in my experience, the Dearborn public school community stands alone across the state in terms of the way they've been able to come together as a total school community for one sole purpose: to do what's right for kids. Everything that I've seen this school district do speaks to what's right for kids. I've had the good fortune to interact directly with a number of your students. They are also awesome people. You heard two young ladies come up here tonight and read commendations across the school district for fellow students, for staff members, for people who they may not even know, but could identify the things that they should be recognized for. I can also tell you without a doubt that one of the most difficult positions that a person in any school community can serve is that of a school board member. It's a position of service, not privilege. It's a position that requires time, dedication, and commitment on behalf of other people's children. There are many school districts across the state that can't get anybody within their school district to run for a seat on the Board of Education. There have been school districts in the state who've had 4 vacancies on their board at election time, and no one filed to run for them. The fact that you have people in your school community who are willing to make that commitment of time, of effort, of their personal best interest aside for other people's kids is something that should be recognized, appreciated, and thanked. I would just say to you, the 6 people who made application for this position, regardless of who winds up in that chair, are people who should be honored in this community, people who should be recognized across the community, who are willing to do something very positive on behalf of other people's children. You are the only school district in the state, the only one, that has a P14 program. Your Board of Education represents the P12, primary through 12th grade, and the community college. You stand alone in that regard. There are so many positive things that have gone on in this community. The unity. When we did the superintendent search where Dr. Maleka was hired, I had an opportunity to talk with high school students about what did they want to see. And I met them in this room at like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I had kids from all 3 high schools here together. And while we were waiting for others to arrive, I had the opportunity to listen to those kids talk to one another and how they helped each other with academic classes in other schools, how they reached out and said, well, let me show you how to do this. Really is a rare occurrence. It reflects on you as a school community, the things you have taught your kids, the commitment that you've made to help others along the way. Unbelievable. Great, great things. Your ability to continue to move this school community forward is predicated on your capacity to come together, to move forward as a school district, as a school community, lockstep. That doesn't mean we have to agree on every decision. Boy, I'll tell you, when I talk with boards, and you know I spoke with you last month about it, we talk about what's in the best interest of kids. If you're married and you have kids, you know that you and your spouse don't always agree what's in the best interest of your kid. That doesn't mean you love them, don't love them. It doesn't mean that you're going to shun your spouse because they had a different point of view. You find a way to work through it because it's in the best interest of kids. Similarly, this school community needs to be able to come together in that same context and say, how do we get to the issues that really impact kids along the way? Having said that, let me just go back and reaffirm, President Lane, comments that you made at the outset. Is that Michigan law requires when a vacancy occurs on the board in between election timeframes, the remaining members of the board have a 30-day period of time from the resignation to make an appointment to fill the seat. That's the language, an appointment to fill the seat. The law does not specify a process that a Board of Education must use. That process is open to each and every board to determine how they're going to make that appointment. Most boards, including this one, adopt board policy. In many cases, policies that relate to things that may never occur. But in the event they do, they want some predetermined direction for the remaining members of the board as to how they should proceed. And some time ago, I can't begin to tell you when, Glenn, maybe you know, when the Dearborn Board of Education adopted a policy that stipulated the process that you have gone through in this event. Can the board change that process? Anytime they change the board policy. They can change that process any way you so desire, as long as that process culminates within that 30-day period of time. The board could do it however they wanted. Your predecessors on the board stipulated this process in the hopes of being able to provide guidance and counsel to you as you move forward. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's the process that your policy requires. You have published the vacancy. You have sought and received applications from people who were interested in sitting in that chair. You engaged 6 of those individuals in an interview format, albeit brief, a week ago. And it's incumbent upon you now to make a decision based on who you feel should fill that seat. Great deal of passion from the people in the community. I mean, every single person who walked to this microphone tonight on their shirt sleeve showed their passion for this community. That's a positive. That's a positive. Let's move forward. So here's the process that we'll use for this appointment this evening. And I've sent this to you each in writing earlier. I will begin polling each of you individually. And I will ask you to identify one applicant that you believe would be the best person to fill the seat that's vacant on the board. I will ask you to identify a name, and I will ask you to identify the rationale that you used to come to the conclusion that you did that that person is the correct person. After each of the 6 of you have had an opportunity to speak, if there was one name mentioned by 4 members of the board in common, the president will solicit a motion to appoint that individual to the board. And with a motion and a support, the board chair will then ask for discussion, call the question. If 4 members vote in the affirmative for that person, that is the person who will be designated to fill that seat. In the event that there are not 4 that are common, we will do a second round. And in the second round, I will ask you to begin by talking to each other about the candidate that you would like to bring forward and explain why you believe that person is the best interest. And we'll focus only on those folks that were named in the first round. Now, I have a little problem in that I don't have the names of all 6 people. So if someone could give me those names, perhaps Glenn, we can move forward. And so you know I
I've got
have
'em
no
right
idea.
here.
David, you've got them? Thank you.
We have a list.
Go to the special meeting minutes, and their names are in there.
Do we have them?
Have them, thank you.
Okay.
So if you as a board are understanding of the process that we're going to use this evening, I'm going to begin at one end of the table and move forward. President Wayne?
However, before we start, I don't know whether trustee Barry wants to participate. He indicated that he might not want to.
I made a decision last week. that I'm
Okay.
not, so thank you.
So, okay.
So you're abstaining?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I'm going to begin with Mr. Thorpe, and I'm going to ask him to, again, identify the one individual that he believes is best suited to fill that seat and to provide his rationale for that. Mr. Thorpe.
Having been one of the candidates that interviewed for the open seat 2 years ago, I had no idea the behind the scenes of what it was going to take to get the vote. And I can tell you that it's a lot easier when you're in that seat than it is up here. Going through what I saw with each of the candidates, rewatched on YouTube, and went through my notes, as has been stated before, they're all qualified candidates. What I was focusing in on is the fact that this is a person that's going to be here for 14 months, roughly. And we've got some really big decisions in that amount of time. So experience is something that's very important to me, and because of that, I believe Roxanne McDonald should be the person that takes the appointment.
Thank you. Dr. Mead.
One of the reasons why I ran for the board was to really represent the college more than the P through 12, because all my experience has been in the college. So sometimes this is a difficult decision for me, because a lot of times I don't know all the people as well as everybody in this audience knows. But my choice is Celia Nasser, and I'll tell you why. Because she's a product of the Dearborn Public Schools. She has children in the Dearborn Public Schools. She has a master's degree in public health and a BA in business administration. She's an entrepreneur, so she has gone through the process of determining what is going to work and what isn't going to work, and making some very difficult decisions in that process. She's been a substitute teacher. She's been involved in the community through the League of Women Voters. And one of the things that really turned my head was the letters of reference from Miriam Bazzi and from Joe Guido. Now, I've known both of them only since I've been on the board, and I have tremendous respect for them. And they both told me that she's a team player, that she's a very good listener, and she's decisive and very highly ethical. So that's the reason why I am a supporter of Cecilia Nasser.
Thank you, Dr. Mead. Madam President.
Okay, so since I found out that we were going to have to make this decision, I really haven't slept particularly well. I've thought about this a lot because I believe that all the people could fill the seat, and I could work with any of them. Their qualifications are great, but I'm forced. I'm not King Solomon, unfortunately, and I can't divide this baby 6 ways. So I have to pick one person who can work with 6 of us. and then, of course, other people as well. So I did not know still how to make the decision, but these are the factors that I looked at. I rewatched the video several times. Someone said we didn't ask the right questions, we asked superficial questions. It's true, but we had people speaking in their own words. We also allowed them to submit statements, and they told us what things were important. So I listened to their words on their letters of application. I looked at their public records. I looked at what things do they say about themselves publicly. I looked at their past activities, their experience, their volunteerism, what things have they done, including Facebook posts. So something that was very important to me was someone who would show personal restraint. I don't want somebody who's up here tweeting. I based my decision also on my own knowledge and experience. I did not talk to any of the board members, but I did talk to other wise people who have given me good counsel over many years. I asked them, what would you do? And of course, two of those people I didn't have to ask. They submitted, as Dr. Mead has already mentioned, they submitted letters of recommendation. I will say that I did consider, and I struggled quite a while with the broad public opinion, including how many people got what votes in the past election, which election. I included in my judgment the 5 people that spoke at the last meeting, we've had another group of people. So all of those things weighed in, and I want to say that I want someone who is judicious, well-tempered. I want someone, it has to be someone who's ethical. But I want someone who's balanced and competent. For example, they're filling the shoes of Judge Bazzi, so they have a high standard to come up to. And I really struggle with this because I know that our city has been in the limelight. We're considered newsworthy when anything happens. We get frequently TV here. We've had people that come and try to taunt our city, people who judge us. We're under the microscope. I remember in 2011, there was an incident where some students made a T-shirt, and suddenly, one of the PTA presidents was on ABC News being interviewed, and Anderson Cooper wanted to interview. So what we do, we have to have someone with caution who can speak judiciously for the entire community. So for that reason, I looked at Mrs. Nasser. She looks to be nonpartisan. She has a calm demeanor. She has the written recommendations of the people who preceded her, and she has operational business experience. So for those reasons, I advance her name.
Thank you. Trustee Petrikov.
I am using the same reasoning that I used the last time we went through this process. I am choosing a former board member who was recently elected, who left her seat in order to advance to a higher Lansing position to continue to represent her community and what she thought would be the best possible way to help her community. She brings 5 years of board experience, and currently we are going to need that experience and no learning curve to move seamlessly into the next few months of decision-making when it comes to the P12 and the college, and she brings a strong background in that. So I'm nominating Roxanne McDonald.
Thank you. And Trustee Berry, you are abstaining. So we'll move to Trustee Hamud.
Thank you, Dr. Wilma, and I think that it's important for the public to understand why we are making the choices that we are, so I appreciate you giving us the opportunity. When I was evaluating all the applicants, and I said this before, I know how it feels to be in that seat. And I agree with Trustee Thorpe, it's much easier being in that seat than being in this seat. We have people that are willing to take time out of their day, leave their families behind in order to invest in all of ours. and that is something that we should commend all of them for. When I was picking my choice, I also went back and watched all the interviews. And I think my children probably memorized all their names because I was constantly watching the videos. And I think when I was taking everything in consideration, whether it was the interviews, people's history, and even what's been posted on social media, I looked for somebody's temperament. I looked for a person that could work well with everyone. Someone that's capable of making decisions, but also capable of changing direction when it's necessary. I looked for someone who's innovative, someone who can work well with others, someone that doesn't care about the spotlight. And I looked for someone who wants to be on this board, who is committed to serving this board. And someone that is a problem solver, and that is why, and along with other reasons that I would also state, my choice is Celia Nasser. She is a product of this district. She has kids in this district, and it made me proud for her to say that she was one of the first to attend our Michael Berry Center. She's got a business degree, and I respect women entrepreneurs, and in her case, she was really able to spearhead her business's growth. She received an MBA from Arizona, and her thesis concentrated on children. While she was in Arizona, she was a substitute teacher there. And when she came back, even though she was a business owner, and we know that she opened up her first store, and the second to 18 months after that, she still substituted and invested in the education of our children. She was also a substitute teacher here. As I said, she even opened up, according to her letter, which I was very impressed with, a fourth business almost operating as a franchise. She understood the roles and responsibilities of the board. She said something during her interview about what's the role of the board, and she said to hold the superintendent and the college president accountable to the strategic plan. And that was important to me because I think that that's something that's important to all of us, someone that gets it. She has proven to be proficient in allocating limited resources to accomplish maximum results. And she's shown that with what she has done with her business and her education and also raising a family and investing in our district. She's innovative. She's able to think of new ideas, which I think is important. We know that when she worked for a previous employer at Hype Athletics, she started a new program. And a program that also worked with kids and children. And she has experience with assessment throughout that program. I think that's vital. She also recently started her own marketing business, which I also think brings an aspect to the board that is needed and something that just fits with where we are today, whether it's social media or advertising, even on behalf of the college. I think she'll bring in a unique perspective. But two people recommended Celia that I truly respect and still look up to. And their opinions high rank when faced with such tough tasks, one of which was former trustee Joe Guido. He knows the challenges that this board is faced with and what it takes for this board to be successful. Joe has known Celia for several years and recommended her as a great choice to complete this partial term. He said he knows her as an innovative entrepreneur, but also as someone who has the ability to change her mind on tough decisions. He said she's very pragmatic, logical, and practical. He also praised her for starting her own advertising company and said she's a visionary whose dedication to success is needed on this board. Past board president and now the Honorable Miriam Bazzi also wrote a letter of recommendation on behalf of Celia. And she said that the way a person interacts with the public is an important trait. She has witnessed Ms. Nasser react to challenging situations on more than one occasion and turned a negative situation into a positive dialogue. And I have to say that during Ms. Nasser's interview, there was a lot of tension in the room. And what really impressed me is when she took that seat, the first thing she did, and I personally heard some people say some stuff to her throughout the process. She turned around and she said, I always tell my kids this, but can we see some smiles around here? And that resonates with me. And that's important. Can we see some smiles around here? And, you know, you can tell that there's a lot of pressure sitting in there. And for her to start it that way, I think she's an upstander. Dr. Wilmot, I know that we have three people that have chosen Celia at this time. And I don't know if it's okay with the process, but I'd like to put a motion on the table.
Madam President, it's up to you.
Well, all right, we'll have a roll call vote for, what is your motion? And we'll see if we get support for it.
And I really think that unity on this board is important. And we want someone that wants to be here. And I think that Celia Nasser is someone that is going to serve this district in a great way. And at this time, I move that Celia Nasser be nominated to serve as trustee of the P-12 Board of Education of the Henry Ford College Board of Trustees until the certification of the next school board election on November 6th of 2018.
I'll second. So we will now find out by roll call vote. Trustee Petchikoff, would you read the roll?
Trustee Barry is not participating. Trustee Hamud?
Yes.
Trustee Mead?
Yes.
Trustee Petlicoff, no. Trustee Thorpe?
No.
President Lane?
Yes. So motion, the motion carries, but it does not elect because there's not 4 people. So, Dr. Wilmot?
So the process that we had agreed upon was if we got to this juncture, that the board would take a few minutes and speak to one another. And again, if any of you believe that there is support on the part of 4 board members for any of the other applicants for the position, to talk to one another. I mean, the bottom line is it takes 4 votes to do business here. If we can't get at least 4 affirmative votes for a candidate, we are moving towards a position of abdicating our right, our opportunity to make this appointment ourselves and forwarding that to Wayne County RESA. So you need to talk to yourselves here in public about the candidates that you see and why you believe they're the people who should fill that role. You had a chance to identify a little bit the strengths that you saw them bringing. Now's your chance to talk to your board colleagues, because obviously at this point, in order for there to be a decision, at least one member of the board needs to make a modification in their current position.
Okay. Trustee Mead wants to take a break for just a moment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, so let's take a 1-2 minute break. Dr. Maliko, you ready? Okay, Dr. Wilmot.
So when we took the break, we were at a juncture where we were going to ask you as board members to discuss with one another the candidates that were mentioned, and/or if anyone wanted to raise any of the others, to feel free to do that as well. The bottom line is, in order for any of these 6 to fill the seat, 4 of you have to come to some agreement. You're split right now, 3 in favor of Ms. Nassar, 2 in favor of Ms. McDonald. In order for you to have either of them, someone would have to modify their current position. So this is an opportunity for you to convince one another. I will poll you a second time. If there's not consensus of at least 4 of you at the end of the 4, the chair has agreed that we would stop the consideration this evening, come back on the 19th of June at the meeting at the college and raise the issue one final time, but inability to get somebody to move from where they currently are means that this position will be appointed by Wayne County RESA. So with that, here's your opportunity to talk to one another again, and I'm going to ask you to recall the admonition I'm sure you heard at some point from your mother, and that is, if you can't say something positive about somebody, don't say anything at all.
I would just like to state, and I doubt I'm going to change 2 minds, which is what I would have to do, but quite frankly, one of the things that was brought up several times is about Mr. Guido being a reference for Ms. Nasser. Well, he was also listed as a reference for Roxanne McDonald, and he has high regards for Roxanne McDonald as well. I'm not certain why he referenced to people, but it maybe speaks to his desire to promote anybody he thinks is out there working for the good of the community. Number two, it was stated, I can't emphasize enough that Ms. McDonald was recently on the board, understands the college intimately, and is still very involved in both the college and the P-12 in her volunteer work. And the only reason she left was because she felt that she could serve this community at a bigger level. She didn't leave because she didn't want to not represent the school district or be on the board. And the assumption that the current language was given made it sound as if she had no interest in being on the board. She has a strong interest in representing this community, and the only reason she, and it was a tough decision, decided to change hats was because there was an opportunity to move forward and represent this community at a broader level. She wasn't successful. This came about unknowingly to any of us, and she is volunteering her services to step back in, full board experience, understands the roles and responsibilities, knows her obligations and duties, and is fully prepared to move us through the next few months of a college president search, which she's been involved in before, and boundary changes she's been involved in before, and or any other bonds, millage, anything like that. She brings to the table a full, complete package of board experience and a proven track record of her community involvement. She was a one board member you would see at every event, every function, every time anything was out there. And she continues to remain committed to this community. I don't know how you could not bring back somebody in this interim position until the community can speak and vote. She was duly elected. She won her seat. She worked hard to win her seat, and she wants to continue to represent this community. That's my argument.
Thank you, Ms. Petrikov. And I would be remiss if I did not at least call attention that one of the applicants indicated to me that they provided references, names and contact information as requested, would have happily provided letters, but felt that the request from the board was for references, so did not produce letters. Yes.
Dr. Roman, if I may. First, I think that, and as I stated earlier, it would really be a dereliction of our duties to pass this decision to anyone else. I think that it's vital that we are able to do what the people elected us to do, is to make this decision. And this is an important decision. And as Trustee Lane mentioned in the past, this is just as important, if not more important, than hiring a superintendent or a college president. But I think that it's important for us to make this decision because it's important for us to show the public that we can make a decision together. And one of the things we continue to say about what makes a great trustee is someone capable of making decisions, but also capable of changing direction when necessary. And I really want all of us to think about that for a minute. We have had 6 applicants that we all agree are qualified, and we have chosen 2 that are extremely qualified. 3 of us, at this point, has chosen Ms. Celia Nasser. And 2 of us have chose Roxanne McDonald. Ms. Roxanne McDonald, as I stated, both of which are great candidates. However, it's important that when we leave today, we leave as a unified board and we show the public that we can sit down, have a conversation, and come out with results, because that's what we do. Instead of saying, we're going to wash our hands out of this, we don't want to make a decision and have somebody else do my job. We're elected to do our jobs, and that's why we're here. And we should not be taking the easy way out here. We should not. We have 3 board trustees right now who have stated their reasons why they believe Ms. Celia Nasser is qualified and why she is their choice. We also have 2 past board trustees who sat in that seat who also believe that. I would hope and I would wish and ask both Trustee Petlicoff, who I truly respect, and Trustee Thorpe, who I very much respect, to consider that and to take that into consideration if our opinions mean something, and to come out as a unified board, because I think it's crucial we make a decision. I really do. I think it's our responsibility, and we're elected to do so. So I plan on staying here until we come out with a decision.
Madam President.
I'll be brief. We should state also that there were two in this round candidate or applicants who were previous trustees. In the prior round, there were several others as well. So to me, someone can win back a seat. They can win back if they voluntarily leave. The election will be actually right around the corner in November 2018. And we'll all hear about it from now until 2018. But something that's underlying everything to me is that Mrs. Nasser is the voice of the future. She has students incoming to the district. She will be with us. She may be with us, those of us who are still around, for a while, a long time. And especially since education is about the future, I would urge my colleagues to think about that.
Mr. Thorpe?
Well, I agree with Trustee Hammoud about unity. What I would say is I'd have no problem and be happy to work with either of the individuals if they are appointed to this seat. But that being, well, and along that line, I also want to do my duty and do what I was put here to do. But for me, that means I've got to stick with who I think would best represent our district and our residents. And because of the experience that Roxanne McDonald already has, like we said, we've got a lot of big decisions coming up. As only having served on this board for 6 months, I don't think it would be fair to anyone else to put them in here in the middle of the fire of electing a new college board president, having the discussions about capacity. I've had a chance to know Roxanne for over 10 years in many different capacities, and she's been consistent in all those different ones. I don't know Ms. Nasser like that, but I've always seen Roxanne the same way through all these different activities. And again, even though she isn't on this board currently, she's still staying active in the community, which to me means a lot, that she didn't let it get her down. She just keeps going.
And I just want to say, when you're talking about our duty and responsibility, that's to hold true to our principles and our values and who we know that we're representing in this community. And like I said, it's just not my supporters, just not the people who elected me. And quite frankly, 1 year I lost to Trustee Lane, and I had 14,000 votes. So I understand what the vote numbers mean. I won with less than 8,000 votes the following election cycle. It's not the votes that matter, it's the community and the decisions that we make that impact the entire community. And my decision is the same as Trustee Thorpe. We have many new board members on here who don't have that experience and hindsight, institutional knowledge to help them through these important decisions. I don't think it's fair to add another board member who lacks that knowledge that Trustee McDonald or Ms. McDonald would bring back to the board for this 18 months experience, and then let the voters speak.
Thank you. Dr. Mead?
Well, these are very strong arguments for Roxanne McDonald. She's a certified board member. She went to all the MASB training. She's been a very fine board member, there's no doubt about it. When she left, I tried to give a little tiny speech, and my tiny speech was she's a great facilitator. And the reason why I am moving to Cecilia is because she has, as you mentioned, the future at heart. has children in the system, and she has taught. And I'm looking for somebody who can sit on the board who has a background in education, who understands what goes on in the classroom, who would be very supportive of teachers. I'm not saying that Roxanne wouldn't do that, because she has done that before. But I just think that Celia is the person who is focused at this point from the point of view of a teacher, and also as an entrepreneur, because she has to make difficult decisions. So I'm still supportive of Celia over Roxanne, but Roxanne has always been a very good person, good board member.
Well, I will move, again, the same motion, and let's have a,
Before you
Yeah,
do,
okay.
can I say something
Sure.
else too?
yep, we can keep the floor
When
open.
when I was first appointed by the board I was also new. And the board had just hired a superintendent. And the board at that time was also, because every single issue that we face is an important issue. And I think that with the support of each other, we were able to get through it. And I didn't feel because I was new, I couldn't do the job. I felt like I had the support of every single person here. But more than that, this is a similar situation of what happened the last appointment. And at the last appointment, Trustee Guido had voted for a certain individual. And when it came time to making a decision and coming out with an outcome, he changed courses. He changed his vote, because at that time, it wasn't only about him and what he thought. It was about a team. And it was about how the team looked to the community as a whole. And even though we do have strong convictions, we should also be strong enough in the changes that we make. And I truly hope that both trustees take that into consideration. And Trustee Guido, even though I was not his first choice, I'll gladly say that working with him, he's always told me that he was so happy that he changed his choice that day. And I wouldn't have had the opportunity if that board walked away with no decision.
Well, we can sit for a moment of silence and all of us think about it. I don't want to preempt any more conversation.
Coming out with a decision should be an easy decision. It really is. And if we're talking about two great candidates, then we shouldn't walk out of here certain on not coming out with one.
All right, let me call the question then. I would move that Celia Nasser be nominated to serve as trustee of the P-12 Board of Education and Henry Ford College Board of Trustees for the remaining unexpired term of until November 6, 2018.
I second your motion.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Hamud?
Yes.
Trustee Mead?
Yes.
Trustee Petlicoff, no. Trustee Thorpe?
No.
President Lane?
Yes. Okay.
So-
We're deadlocked.
The point that we had agreed upon, Madam Chairman, and myself, was that after going through 2 or 3 rounds, which we have done, if no decision was clear, that we would table this discussion until June the 19th, which is still within the 30-day window that the board has. The question that I have for you as a board is your discussion this evening has centered around 2 of the 6 applicants. When we return on the 19th to talk about this item again, are we at a point where we would limit that discussion to those 2 that have been talked about this evening and not the other 4? Or is it wide open?
I'd like to move that it be limited to the 2 people that we have identified.
Well,
There's no
then,
second.
let's
Is
have
it-
some, let's have some
Is that
discussion
something
first
that
so that
have
we
to-
know the
that we would have to
ramifications.
No, we don't have to
today?
make a motion.
Yeah, we don't have to
Oh,
really
okay.
move
Can
it,
we-
but let's
can
have
we
some
answer that at the
discussion of it.
beginning of the meeting and
Yeah,
at
we
least think
can, we
about
can
it?
do it at the next meeting, we can think about it, but we still should have some conversation now, because we could use the next week maybe to be lobbied, or to consider maybe a dark horse candidate, I don't know. That- Oh, I know, I'm aware of that. Mhm. Yeah, we still have some other business to conduct also. Mhm. And there will be people fasting next week as well.
Yeah, bring your big
Yeah.
lunches, everyone.
Well, yeah, it could be a long night next week. Does anyone want to reopen it then? Does anybody want to
I would
argue
like to
this
come
one way or
back to
another?
this because I think that this is, you know, this is very important. If we can't come up with a decision on these two, I think that we should still, these two qualified candidates, I don't know, should we still have more qualified candidates? You know, where does that take us? I personally need more time to think about it, and I'd appreciate it if we can come back at the next
Sure.
meeting.
Okay, all right. So, Dr. Wilbot, maybe you have some other genius ideas?
You know, I'm a facilitator, not a magician. I wish I could wave a magic wand and make it easy for you, but I can't do that. You know, you have to be able to really think about it, think about where you stand, look at, you know, what's at stake for the district and the community, and then see what it's going to take to come together to produce 4 votes in order to make this decision next week.
Thank you, Dr. Wilmot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it then. We will move on to the next business.
All right. Motion to approve action items. You want me to wait?
Would everyone who's leaving please try to leave quietly
Quietly.
because we still have business to conduct?
And we are live.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Move that action items numbered, okay, I guess it's 2 through 20, be approved as recommended in this agenda with the exception of, anybody?
Yeah, I think that we have, what's the last one? I think we have, we had a supplement that was emailed to us late.
Right.
Oh, it is 20.
20, yeah.
Okay, 20 is the last
I'm
one.
on top
Okay.
of the
Sorry, I
game.
thought it was 22. So, yes. All right, so
I didn't see anything that
I
needed
don't
to be
think there's
pulled for a
anything
roll
that needs a
call.
roll call vote, but there are some people who have patiently waited, and we want
Yes, to be recognized.
Yes, we want to introduce them. So, okay,
Okay, so I'm
ready?
read it.
I had questions on a couple of the